Look at me finally having time to film a video that doesn't involve stuff made by production companies that people are striking against. And also, do you see my happiness? I just found out that my favorite Broadway play is going on tour, and it's like the play that got me into Broadway plays and theater and stuff. So I'm really excited, and I hope that my excitement carries on to make this a fun video, because today I'm going to be doing the ancient history book tag. I also want to warn all of you, it's been dumping rain all day where I live, so I'm really hoping that my phone's microphone won't catch any of the rain noise, but if it does, I am so sorry. I can't help it. I live in Oregon, one of the freaking rainiest states in the entire US. You know, it is what it is because I have time to film finally, and I pre-planned a video ahead of time, which is rare for me. I pre-planned this video ahead of time to make sure that I can post it during the strike, although the strike could be ending soon. Knowing my luck, I could literally upload this video and then the strike might end like the next day, but who knows? So the ancient history book tag was a book tag that was created by Books Michelle, and I will link their YouTube channel down in the description below. So essentially this is a tag that has 8 questions, and these 8 questions have to do with different time periods. So I thought this would be a fun little tag to do, and I am purposely making sure that I am not talking about stuff that people are striking against. Literally saying it again to remind myself to be cautious of what I'm saying in this video so that I can actually upload it during the strike. Question number 1 is the Stone Age, one of the first books you remember reading. I'm gonna go see if I can grab it. I'm not gonna grab most of these books just because my situation of where I'm keeping the books that I've already read are a mess back there, but this particular book is a book that my nephew has been reading, so I might be able to grab it easily. Let me go see. So this book is 10 Little Ladybugs. This is by Melanie Girth, and it's illustrated by Laura Huliska Beath. Hopefully I said their name right. I've been taking a Spanish class and like memorizing how to pronounce everything with the Spanish like alphabet system. So if I ever mispronounce anything and you're like, that's really weird recently, and it's not like my normal weird, it could be because my brain is literally trying to memorize how to sound out words in Spanish. It's been eventful. Anyways, this was one of the first books that I remember reading. This is such a fun book because it tells a story, and then on each page the ladybugs are getting less, like they're disappearing. So this is 10, and then it goes down to 9, then eventually you get down to like 1, you know, and then they're all home. So this is one of the earliest books that I remember reading. There's actually a date in here from when I got it. I got it in 2002 from my second cousin. I've always thought of her as sort of like an aunt, but I guess she's my second cousin. I got it from my second cousin and her husband when I was 2 years old. So this is one of the first books I have like a strong memory of reading. I read it over and over again, and now I've kept it since it has meant a lot to me, and I've been reading it to my nephew, and he has been having a lot of fun with it. Question number 2, Ancient Greece. Your favorite myth-inspired book. Doesn't have to be Greek mythology or retelling. I mean, I feel like my favorite mythology-inspired book like changes every once in a while, but I would currently say that the one that I'm most obsessed with is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. This has to do with Greek mythology. I have a whole reading vlog on this video that will be linked down in the description below. So in this book, there is 9 Greek gods who are forced to walk the earth as mortals because they are being punished for a past rebellion. And then there are these ancient bloodlines from different Greek heroes, and these ancient bloodlines all compete to kill the gods, and if they kill the gods, they get their powers. So it's a deadly competition. There is a little bit of romance in there, there's tons of action, and there's tons of mythology, and I love it so much. I love like literally every single book with a like competition or trial I'm obsessed with, and Lore is one of those ones that I'm obsessed with. I read it I think last year in 2022, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since. It is fantastic, and I recommend that everyone read it, as long as you can handle gore though and like violence, because it does get a bit intense at times, but it is so freaking good. Question number 3, The Roman Empire, a book featuring an impressive empire or kingdom. We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. It has an impressive empire in there, an impressive world. That's one of the things that fascinates me the most about that series, the landscapes, the settings, the locations. We Hunt the Flame is an enemies to lovers fantasy romance. It does start off a little bit slow, but it really picks up and it becomes amazing by the end of the book. The way that this book is always advertised is people lived because she killed, people died because he lived. So as I said, this book is enemies to lovers. It follows Zafira, and she's a hunter, and she has to go obtain an artifact, and Nazir, who is the Prince of Death, goes with her, and his goal at the end is to kill her, and they need to get this item to bring it back to his father. So I really enjoy We Hunt the Flame. I think that it isn't for everyone, but I also think that it's really enjoyable, and I think if you can sift through the like slower part in the beginning, it's not boring, it's just slow, and it's getting you invested in the world and these characters and all the different terminology. If you can push through that part, I think you will like this book, as long as you like fantasy. I know that not everyone is a fantasy fan, but I'm personally a huge fantasy fan, in case you can't tell by the like multiple fantasy books that I constantly talk about on my channel. Question number 4 is The Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, a book that is an absolute bummer. I'm going with one that I am planning on getting rid of soon. I'm trying to do like a collection of books that I'm gonna get rid of soon, because I thought it'd be fun to do a little like unhaul at some point. This is currently in a box of books that I'm planning on unhauling soon. So this book is by Louise Erdrich, and I read The Birchbark House by Louise Erdrich, and The Birchbark House was actually one that I enjoyed. And I was like, this is great. I need more Native American authors to read about. And I'm like, I think I'm going to be a huge Louise Erdrich fan. And she's like really well known. She's written tons of books. I was so excited. So then I read another one of her books this year, and I was like, how is this written by the same person who wrote The Birchbark House? So this book that is an absolute bummer is Tracks. I don't even really know how to describe Tracks because it is so complex and it's so messy. So I guess the best way to describe it is that you're following a period of time in the community with these Native American characters, and it's like a period where like colonization is starting. So there's two like points of view, like two characters that it focuses on. So it focuses on this grandfather, and he's sort of like telling this young girl, his granddaughter, about her mother's life, and then it follows this other person, and she is sort of like rejecting her culture and more embracing Catholicism, but it turns like really sadistic the way that she embraces Catholicism. So Tracks was a no for me. I read it for school. We had a list of like 50 books and we just had to choose two, and so I was like, I love Louise Erdrich, I'll choose this. And then I read the book and I'm like, maybe I'm not actually a Louise Erdrich fan. Maybe it was just like a one-off thing with The Birchbark House. So it was a really big bummer to have Tracks be such a disappointment. Question number 5, The Renaissance, a book that you've learned a lot from or that made you think. So I've talked about this book a lot, and I'm gonna keep talking about it, and it's Found in Night by Ben Alderson. This is the second book in the Dragori series. This is the first book that I read where there was a character who is asexual in it, and there was like one passage in particular that really stood out to me, the way that they described asexuality, and I like burst out into tears because I was like, that's literally me. That's why I felt so off and out of place in the world for so long. And so it helped me learn a lot about asexuality, and it helped me learn a lot about myself. And so Found in Night is perhaps the book that has had the biggest impact on my life because it's helped me embrace my asexuality and understand my asexuality. I keep talking about Found in Night for the asexual rep, but it isn't just about asexuality. It's like the asexuality is like a small plot line, but it really stuck out to me. The Dragori series is actually about people with elemental control, and they are elves, and the ones with elemental control can sort of turn into dragons. So it's like a high fantasy that's really enjoyable, but there's also tons of queer rep, and that queer rep was done so well, and nobody is like out of place or like hated for their identity, which I really appreciate, because I think it was really important for me to read this positive rep in such a positive and accepting world within this book in order to embrace who I am. So yeah. Question number 6, The Industrial Revolution, a book featuring an invention or concept that you would love to have in your own life. So I read a book recently called Psyche and Eros, and it is by Luna McNamara. So Psyche and Eros is a Greek mythology book, and it's telling a romance, and these lovers are cursed that if they look into each other's eyes, then they will be separated from each other forever. So this god accidentally pricked himself with this arrow that was cursed, and he became cursed with it. So it's like a cursed love story, which is really fun. But the specific like concept or invention that I wish I could have in my own life was, they have this like, I think they refer to it as like a seaside house, seashore house. So it's like this house in the cliffs, which alone sounds really beautiful and awesome, but the house can like conform to their needs, give them what they want, give them food, and it's just described so beautifully. And I love the magical element of it and how it like pleases whoever lives in the house, and I just really love that, and I wish that were real because I feel like that would be really awesome. And it would be also great for me to just like be like, clean up the house for me, or if I'm like sitting there and I lost something, I'll be like, give me my phone charger, I lost it, house, give it to me, and then the house will be like, phone charger. So yeah, I think that that house would be like really cool if it was real. Obviously it wouldn't be real, but like it would be awesome if you could like pull that out of the book and make it a real thing. Question number 7, World War I and II, your favorite historical fiction book about the World Wars, or if you don't have one, your favorite historical fiction book in general. Okay, so I don't read historical fiction too much. I find historical fiction to be dull most of the time, so I thought about like the few books that I've read that have to do with like the World Wars, and I could only think of like 3, I think, that I read that have to do with the World Wars, but the one that stands out to me the most is Early Sunday Morning, The Pearl Harbor Diary of Amber Billows, Hawaii, 1941. This is written by Barry Denenberg. So this is a children's book, but the reason why I'm choosing this one is because it really presented a part of World War II that I don't see represented a lot in books and in media in general. A lot of times in World War II, you're focusing a lot on the Holocaust in the media, which is an important thing to focus on because we want to make sure that we aren't repeating history at all. However, this book is from the point of view of a child, and it is taking place in Hawaii when Pearl Harbor is being bombed. So it's giving the perspective of someone who was in Hawaii during the bombing and how that was impacting the citizens and the people who live there. So I thought that this was a really great book. It gave a perspective that I've never seen represented before, and it's given from the point of view of a child, which is really interesting to me because it just pulls in how serious it is and how these tragic things happen every person. It's not just impacting adults. It's not just adults stepping up and trying to do something to help people. And I also think the fact that it's from the point of view of a child can help bring children in to understand history better and to see what it was like at Pearl Harbor better. So even though Early Sunday Morning is a children's book, I do recommend it to everyone because I think it is one of the most influential historical fiction books that I have read ever. So question number 8 is present day, a book everybody should read in present day according to you. So Early Sunday Morning, as I said, but I'm going to choose a different one for this prompt. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you have definitely heard me talk about this on my channel before, but there's a book called Notable Native People, 50 Indigenous Leaders, Dreamers, and Changemakers from Past and Present. This is by Adrienne Keene and it is illustrated by Sierra Sana. So, at least when I was in schools, we were missing representation for Indigenous people, both in the present and the past, who are like real life people. Like there's only one Indigenous person that I learned about in extensive detail when I was in school. And that's disappointing. And that's awful. And I've gone to like 7 different schools and I've only learned about Sacagawea. So that's disappointing. So Notable Native People, I feel like fills in a lot of gaps about people that you should know about. And it's also really fascinating to me to learn about all these different Indigenous people and the ways that they are preserving their culture. And it's also fascinating for me to hear about all these like environmental activists and environmental scientists and how they are working to preserve the world. So I think that this book is a book that everyone should read. And it's not read like a story, it's read like each page focuses on different Indigenous person. So it's not a type of book that you have to read in one sitting or have to read in one go. You can like have it on your coffee table and just every once in a while pick it up and learn about someone new. I think this is a book that everyone needs to read, and if I could, I would assign this book into like American history classrooms, especially in like middle school and high school, for kids to read and to learn about these different people. So this was all for the ancient history book tag. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. As I said earlier in the video, the tag creator will be linked down in the description below, and all of these questions will be put in the description below in case you want to do this tag. I really hope all of you are having a fantastic October. If you want to watch more of my book tags, I will have a playlist linked down in the description below with all of the book tags that I've done on my channel so far. And I'll see all of you in my next video. Until next time, goodbye!